So this is what goes on in my head. I'm always asking the question, how do I be of service? How do I be generous? How do I go to the next step? And that's what you need to think. Stop being scarcity minded and asking what you're getting out of a relationship, and ask how you can serve it.
Hello there, this is Ajit Navlakha, and I am super excited to just jump on a call right now with Keith Ferrazzi. Keith Ferrazzi is an absolutely amazing individual who has written multiple New York Times bestselling books and is an absolute champion in connecting with people and being able to build an amazing network and being able to coach people really, really well, coach teams really, really well, and create extraordinary results for them. We're going to talk about his new book, Leading Without Authority. We're going to talk about his old book, Never Eat Alone. We're going to talk about how you can, even in this time, create a network that is powerful, that allows you to be able to grow your coaching business, that allows you to be able to create more impact with your clients. And we are going to talk about something that is called moonshots. So there's going to be a lot of fun conversations in this very quick but very powerful conversation. So without further delay, let's roll it. So excited to have you today, Keith. How are you doing?
Fantastic. And I was looking forward to this. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much. And this is such a great time to get into this conversation because you've written some phenomenal books in the past. They've made it to New York Times bestsellers all the time. And I was so impressed with the recent books that you've written, which is Leading Without Authority. So before we get into anything, tell us a little bit about what does Leading Without Authority even means.
Yeah, so I've been a coach for 20 years, and my specific focus is coaching executive teams into growth and transformation. So I believe that within every organization is the potential for exponential change, exponential growth. And I believe that the human capital elements of the team at the top are a crucial element to achieve that. So I don't actually coach individuals very much. I will coach individuals as a part of my work, but I mostly coach teams. And what I've noticed over 20 years is that value creation is eroded in organizations when the interdependencies of executives don't work. So the idea that when I used to be a chief marketing officer, I was chief marketing officer at Deloitte. I was chief marketing officer at Starwood. I'll give you a good example. When I was chief marketing officer at Deloitte, I was a kid. I was in my 20s when I started the path. And I was silly. It's a great story is greatly told in Leading Without Authority. But the point is that I was a kid, and therefore I worked my way up to become chief marketing officer with clearly no authority behind me. I had to earn my right to be the chief marketing officer using the methodology that I teach in the book. Then I went over to Starwood Hotels. And at Starwood Hotels, I was the chief marketing officer by positional authority, and I was named it. And more importantly, I was given a pretty wide breadth of what I could be responsible for. And I acted in a way that I'm not proud of at times, where I led with the authority that I had, and I made assumptions of the authority that I had. And in places where, for instance, the overlap between global marketing and regional marketing, I overstretched and didn't co-create in ways because I had a bold view of where the brand of Starwood was going globally, and I was going to achieve that. But the local nuance of what it needed to do in Europe, for instance, was less respected by me based on my global perspective. Well, the funny story is told where the new head of the company as a whole ended up being the head of Europe, and he just eviscerated my marketing organization and, sent me having to make a decision of whether I wanted to be a part of something very small, which was really subnational. But the point that I'm making is that I believe as coaches, we need to coach in relationships. So we're coaching not an individual, we're coaching individuals in relationship with others. And Leading Without Authority teaches individuals to be their most exponential possible self. So anybody who is a coach should get Leading Without Authority, because we should be teaching our leaders how to be exponential with others without having to gain the authority to be exponential. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And how does that really show up conceptually, I understand what it may mean, but how does that show up in, say, a relationship? How does it really show up? What does it look like?
Well, I'll just use the chief marketing officer example. I wrote a piece in the Harvard Business Review not long ago about why chief marketing officers have one of the highest turnover rates. It's because as a CMO, my real job should be the facilitator of growth, right? And there are 5 elements that facilitate growth. You've got certainly brand, but you've got lead generation, you've got sales support, you've got data and analytics, right? You've got product, you've got technology. So there's all these areas that really are elements of the future of the growth of the company, and you're not going to run it all. So stop fighting for more control and being upset about what you're not overseeing. Instead, be the co-creator. Call the question. Invite people in to a co-creation of growth. And as a step off the positional title and down into a humble servant of growth with a group of your peers. And once you do that, you begin to open up possibility for real exponential change. And even walk outside the company. Your company doesn't even need to be constrained by the people inside of it. Your philosophy of growth could have to do with how you partner differently with customers or other influencers or other organizations. And once you start expanding, I call it teaming out, and realizing I'm a leader that's unbounded by anything. I'm unbounded by anything. As long as I can earn the enlistment of my team. And my team is just whoever I need to achieve greatness. And it's not my achieving greatness, it's us achieving greatness. So that's the philosophy, and that's where you start. You start with a vision that you invite other people into.
And would that also mean you use a word co-elevation in the book, and you kind of talk about it through the course of the book? Is that what you mean by co-elevation? Is to take people with you on the journey and raise them as you're going through it?
Yeah, and yes, and not just you raise them; they raise each other, and you're raised by them. Right? Mm-hmm. It's an equilibrium that you begin to meet, and it's a philosophy that says a group of people. If you're a leader, you can enlist a group of people committed to a mission, but that group of people is also committed to each other. And that's a different form of leadership. I mean, I have to practice it every day in my own company where, I've got a CEO, I've got a head of marketing. I'm the chairman of the company. I'm working on so many different projects. I need a CEO of the Farazi Greenlight coaching and consulting business. And I'm starting I've got my nonprofits and I've got all the things I do. So I've got a CEO who might be twisted by a relationship with the chief marketing officer about some particular issue. And my job is not to arbitrate. My job is to encourage the two of them to co-create, right? Mm. And they've got their own personalities, and they've got their own, struggles and insecurities. And how do I get them on a co-elevating path? Because once they do, I don't need to be there. And once they do, we'll be extraordinary. We'll create extraordinary things. But as long as the two of them are like, pissing on trees to see whose turf it is, which we see all the time in business, then we're going to remain very small. We're going to be mediocre. So yeah, does that kind of make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. And how do we, because I understand painting the vision, how does this co-creation, co-elevation process really start? And I want to kind of lean in a little bit towards one of the concepts that I read in your other book called Never Eat Alone, which is about generosity and how giving and expectation of the taking and so forth is kind of, you kind of definitely challenged my mind in the way of how I was thinking about it. That was really, really interesting. So firstly, how does somebody start? It seems like there might be some leaning into that. If you could share some more there.
Yeah. So here's the dirty little secret. The dirty little secret is Never Eat Alone was a book about networks and networking, building opportunity for yourself, Ajit, in the world through relationships. But then we show up today and we're working in networks. Right? We've moved from working in silos and boxes to we're working in networks. Work really happens in a network. And so Never Eat Alone's philosophies tie into leading without authority, because leading without authority is the leadership version of Never Eat Alone. right? So the principle of generosity is forefront in Never Eat Alone. I say to you, if you want to build a rich network, you lead with generosity. And if you want to lead people who don't have to follow you, then you better lead with generosity. So the correlation is strong. There's a chapter in the book, chapter 3, which is called Serve, Share, and Care. That's what earns you permission to lead somebody who doesn't have to follow you. Your capacity to serve that individual, share deeply enough that you open yourself authentically and vulnerably to that individual to enlist loyalty, and then care enough to solidify that as a long-standing relationship. So serve, share, and care is a new philosophy to earn your way into permission to lead. When you used to have a titled job, leader, CMO, running this, that, or the other thing, you could lead people because their job was to comply to your leadership. But when you're leading a group that doesn't report to you, you got to earn that right. And that's what this book teaches you, how to earn the right to lead in a world that if you really want to be exceptional, you can't lead and rely on authority.
How do you see it adapting to the new world that we are living in? So we're recording this at the time where there are still safer at home orders in some parts of the world. What is it that you suggest that coaches especially look at who are building new relationships or nurturing older relationships in companies?
No. So first of all, the world of remote, I think, offers you as a coach a unique opportunity. I would highly advise you go to a website that I created called virtualteamswin.com, virtualteamswin.com, where I put all of the resources. We raised over $2 million about 5 years ago to research the world of remote work. And I published 18 studies in the Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, Wall Street Journal, and nobody gave a damn back then. Today we wake up and people give a damn. And so I published all of that work there. And what I've created is a tool that as a coach, I go into an organization and I do what's called a remote reboot. Mm-hmm. So if you're a coach in this world, I believe that you should probably have reasonable demand in that there's a lot of people in strife that need your coaching. But those same people may be fearful of spending money because their organizations have clamped down on any outside spending. And yet they definitely know that they have to figure out how to work effectively in a remote world. And if you show up with a skill set of knowing how to work in a remote world, I think you'll have a distinction in your coaching. So if you go to virtualteamswin.com, there's a lot of resources that I think could help you sell your coaching into an organization under the rubric of helping them be more effective remotely. Okay. But I also believe that we've got to help coach. We've got to help our clients be better at managing their teams in a remote world. I created a leadership course, which you're welcome to, as individuals watching this, you're welcome to get for yourself and then turn that into your own coaching mechanism. It's on keithferrazzi.com. And I both have created a leadership course around leading without authority and a leadership course around this remote reboot principle. It's a whole new world. But the fun thing is, it offers tools that we didn't have before. I could push a button. If I'm leading a team, I could push a button and I could send everybody in that room into a small breakout room to chew on a question for 5 minutes and come back. That little act would fundamentally transform the dynamic of the room. So in a physical world, you sat around, you didn't even see each other's face because half the people were down at that end of the table, and three people were talking about a subject, and some people were checked out doing their email. And in this new world, you're right here, right? The face-to-face interaction, the ability to use the tools to gain higher degree of collaboration, higher degree of candor, all of that exists. So I'm thrilled by the remote tools and what they bring to help change the dynamic of an organization. By the way, one other thing I'll say, Ajit, is the demand for our coaching work has gone up pretty exponentially. And we are now onboarding coaches and we're training them in the methodologies that we have taught in Leading Without Authority and taught in our coaching courses that we sell online. And so there may be a possibility if any of your people become excited by this conversation and they want to become facilitators and coaches in our world, I'd be happy to have them reach out and offer that. And then we'll put them into the pipeline to have that discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll love to get a link from, and we'll post it below this video for people to go check out, because I totally hear you. We're getting that news from all the different companies that we work with and news from all the different trainers that we have on our platform, that the need for their services has only increased multifold. And so absolutely, if that's an opportunity, you're already looking for coaches. We have a great tribe of coaches out here. I'll definitely put up a link and people check it out. It's down below this video for you to go check it out and see.
And also, I'd love to chat with you offline just more about your platform, right? And how could we collaborate together? Because it could be that some of our methodologies may be good courses for you to offer your coaches.
Absolutely. We'll definitely do that offline.
Yeah.
Let's definitely do that offline.
By the way, this is what just to show your audience, if you haven't edited this out, you should always be, whenever you're in conversation with people, you should always be asking the question, how can you be of service? That was his question. Ajit's question is, what's the role of generosity? You need to create currency. The fact that I came on Ajit's show, that's a bit of currency. He appreciates that. So I've been generous, but he also has as well. I mean, he's allowing me to talk to you about something that's passionate to me, which is this book. That's his currency, right? You always have to be asking yourself, what is my currency? How do I be of service? And I could have left it at that, but I want to go to the next level. Let me understand Ajit's business model. Let me understand Ajit's business. And by offering you as his audience something, right? I'm benefiting him because I'm bringing value to his audience, which brings value to his platform. So this is what goes on in my head. I'm always asking the question, how do I be of service? How do I be generous? How do I go to the next step? And that's what you need to think. Stop being scarcity minded and asking what you're getting out of a relationship, and ask how you can serve it. The partner that Ajit has in Mindvalley, I have created such a beautiful relationship with Vishen, because he and I are constantly asking ourselves, how do we help each other? Right? Vishen's the guy that tells me I need new photos all the time. He's literally, he'll be like, you look like crap. You look better than this than you do in your photos. I'm sending you a photographer in Los Angeles to take your picture. I mean, who the hell does that? First of all, I love the fact that he's generous enough to tell me I look like crap in his mind. I think I look fine. But but that's the kind of relationship you need to have with everybody, which gets to the point, which is you lead with generosity, but don't think generosity is all just fun and games. Generosity may also be challenging someone. Generosity may be critique, but you've got to earn permission to challenge and critique somebody, right? So the relationship building, the intimacy, the vulnerability gives you permission to critique somebody. And you critique them because you want to take them higher, not because you want to cut them down. And if you believe that, and of course you do as a coach, you know that your desire is to elevate people. Now, one of the things that I think coaches do too little of is they don't open themselves up to elevation. I think in any relationship you have, even if you're the paid coach, you should always be asking the question, how can I be better? How can I learn? And I don't know that enough coaches spend enough time asking their clients, what would you teach me to do better? How can I be better? both in terms of quality control, how can I be better on serving you, but just in general. I mean, your clients are a rich resource in elevating you. And I've always believed that it engenders deeper loyalty when somebody feels they're invested in you enough that they're coaching you, then they want you to be successful. So I turn my clients into coaches of me. And I know that may cross a boundary that might not be in some coaching manual somewhere, but I believe that we're in a new world. We all have to have the humility to realize we all have to change 50% of who we are and how we think and what we know. So where are we going to get that? We get that from our clients.
That is so beautiful, Keith. And I love that we didn't only talk about generosity, but we talked about the role of honesty and vulnerability and being able to be humble enough to be able to ask questions and saying, how can I be better in this process as I'm helping you be better in your process? I love that. I absolutely love it. And that was something that definitely stood out in your books for me as well, is I believe I'm a generous person, but you take it to a whole new level. And so I would really, really recommend everybody to check out Keith's books, Leading Without Authority, Never Eat Alone. They're all amazing, fantastic books. Absolutely love them. Thank you so much for sharing that, Keith. I have a related question that may be an argument for some people who are listening, right? And it was something that was bothering my mind as well a little bit. It is, how is it that if, let's say you come from a mindset of I am an introvert or I can do this alone, because especially in the coaching profession, a lot of times you're behind a screen and you may have one or two employees, but you're in the profession of helping people directly or companies directly. How does that show up in, and what is it that we need to be mindful of more than anything else as we are listening into the principles of leading without authority?
So I think that I'm going to pick the question apart into a couple of different pieces. One of those pieces is this principle of introversion, extroversion. I'm an introvert. And most people wouldn't recognize that by seeing me show up, and nor would they think it if they read Never Eat Alone. But I was a poor kid in Pittsburgh who had very little financial future. And my growth and potential was tethered to others, not myself. My family couldn't help me. There was no nepotistic support. I had to bust my ass, and it was only going to be through deepening relationships with others that I would create opportunity. So I learned how to hack my introversion, because my introversion, if it left me introverted and not extroverted, would have led me to be mediocre. Now, that gave me opportunity, and that's what the book Never Eat Alone was all about. How do you basically engineer the kind of relationships you need to be successful? And then you start to be a leader, or at least you start to be self-sufficient from the perspective of revenue. Like you said, you're a coach. You may have a couple of people supporting you, but you could think you're out there on your own. Well, now the question is how transformative do you want to be? Right? Perfectly acceptable if what you want to do is rely on your coaching and referrals from your coaching based on the elegance and the generosity of your work. Fine. At some point, you might dry up in your leads, and you might be facing economic insecurity based on not having done good marketing. But if you really want to be expansive in your ability to support, you're going to learn in this day and age, particularly info products. How do you build products that help you be scalable? And well, guess who my team member is on that, who my coach is on that? Vishen. Vishen from Mindvalley has become a coach to me to help open up what does courseware look like for me? What does info products look like for me? When I start thinking about how to have a technology wrapper around what I do, I meet Peter Diamandis, who's the leader of Singularity University, creator of the book Abundance, X Prize, one of the great technology futurists. Now, go back, and I met Peter when he was a guy just running around the TED conference pitching his idea. So you build these relationships at all levels. You might not be able to step in and start a relationship with Peter Diamandis from scratch, but you build the relationships with your peer group, and then as they grow, you support their growth, and they support your growth. You will be mediocre if you want to do this alone. What is mediocre? Mediocre is, are you truly maximizing the impact that you could have on the planet and on people's lives? Look, if you want to be a coach and dabble, make some money, fine. But if you want to maximize the impact you have on the planet, you are going to need pretty significant partners, much more significant than the ones you can hire. So how do you really team out that way? And you better learn that introversion and doing yourself is a formula for mediocrity. Nobody that I know that's great got there alone.
And thank you so much for being so elaborate about it, and also sharing your personal self, how you kind of reconsidered. Was there something, just to lean into a little bit off that, because I thought that was really powerful of you sharing, that you need to ask yourself the question of what's your potential and how far you want to go in this journey. Was there a particular question you asked yourself, or a challenge that you kind of faced as you were kind of fighting maybe your natural intent of saying, okay, listen, I can just be home and be comfortable and so forth. But you said, hey, these are the questions that I asked myself, or some variation of that helped me really identify what my potential could be or my impact could be.
So Peter Diamandis has a pretty good philosophy of moonshots. He basically believes that being 10x does not take any more time than being 10% X, even 10% higher. Going 10% higher takes the same time as going 10x higher. Mm-hmm. It's where you're shooting, and it's what skills and partnerships and how do you become exponential. And I believe that once you decide to be 10x higher, not 10% higher, then you need partners that are pretty significant to get there. Right? So that's the methodology, picking that apart. The question I always ask myself is once you get your moonshot, I was just literally creating my own. Somebody had read my quoting Peter about moonshot, and somebody sent me an email the other day and asked me, what's your moonshot? And I was like, oh shit, I may need to brush that off a little bit. But my moonshot is fundamentally to make this principle of co-elevation, to have it redefine the word collaboration, so that the world, whether you're in politics or whether you're in business, that you're leveraging this tool to create value, of co-elevation, to create value, becomes a mindset and a methodology of leadership for you. And my ideal is that if you fall short of it, you wouldn't be in leadership and you wouldn't get elected. Because I want to get to the stage where we start to turn our back on this isolationist philosophy of government, and the us and them that we see permeating all over the world is sickening to me. I'd like to see politicians get elected who believe in co-elevation, not politicians get ousted and lose elections that believe in divisiveness. And I'd like to see CEOs lose their job if they're not creating this environment, or at least lose their employees who vote with their feet and go to work somewhere else. And I'd like to see the companies that excel get there by virtue of leveraging these tools. I'm starting to create partnerships with startups. I call it FG Holdings, Frosty Greenlight Holdings. And I'm working with startups to adopt the co-elevation mindset so that they create a new cultural system for their companies, and not just go out and hire, as they get bigger, hire heads of HR from organizations that they were formerly disrupting, to bring them a system that will make them disruptible.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your moonshot with us. I think it's very inspiring, and I'm looking forward to what next you create to take further steps towards it. I think it's a world united a world co-elevating each other is a beautiful, powerful world, and we need more and more of that. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to ask one closing question to our conversation, at least for now. What is it that if somebody was in the capacity right now as a coach, as a consultant, as a trainer who is working sometimes with companies and a lot of times with individuals directly, and also the kind of life that we are looking at right now, what would be some of the things that you would say they should keep in mind right now as they're operating in the world, as maybe they are getting the successes like we were talking about, a lot of coaches are being looked out for, but a lot of new coaches may be feeling the pain of not really even knowing where to start because the world looks different. They can't go to an event and really find the people that they would like to network with or know or help out with. So what would you give them as if you were kind of starting today? I know I'm trying to like jog you way back.
No, I get it. It's easy. Get a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Get a buddy.
Could you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So, I'm single for the first, I've been single for 5 years, but I was in 2 sequential relationships, 10 years each. If I were to go out today and want to find my next partner, I'd want a wingman, right? It's like, how do I have somebody at my hand to be my courage giver, somebody to be my sounding board? Do I look good in this? Whatever, right? And so you need that for work. You need that for life. Now, if ideally your co-elevating partner is your spouse, and if you're not, or if they're just not into that, for you to be a great coach, I want you to find your co-elevating partner. I think the buddy system is extraordinary, and commit to each other's elevation. So I guess what I'm saying is, find your first team member, which is the chapter in Leading Without Authority. Find your first team member and go kick ass in the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Keith. It was fantastic talking to you. Thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to speak with us.
It's my pleasure, Ajit. Thank you very much.